Yo YouTube! This is my video for Monday the 18th of August, and I'm on my way to Grantham to pick up my first job of the day. It's a moderate job, it's nothing too special, but I get a reasonable start. But I do have a constriction today. It is about 40 minutes drive away, about 27 miles to get to the point of pickup. And the job itself is just a tad over 90 miles for a short wheelbase van job, and I have got this for £90. And I got this job on Friday. And the constriction that I have today is that this evening we're going to go out with my son and his girlfriend for a sort of birthday celebration meal. It's a week late, but they were away last week, and I need to be back at home really for about 7 at the latest. So it's not a massive constriction, but it means really I don't feel confident about going that far away from where I live. So this job is going to Bicester, from Grantham to Bicester. And I thought, well, I've got this job booked in, I thought, well, I can just make my way from there up towards Northampton, Milton Keynes area, and try to get something sort of maybe towards Leicester or Nottingham, and just sort of stay kind of within the East Midlands and see how that goes. And if I don't get another job, I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'll just go home early. But I'm just pleased to have something booked in, and then at a reasonable rate, and we'll see how it goes. The only thing I want to say this morning is, reflecting on last week as a whole, I didn't really enjoy working last week, and that was fundamentally because of one factor. I was just way too hot for most of the days, and me getting too hot makes me less resilient, more grumpy, and I feel like I just want to give up and go home. So I'm also, a couple of days I couldn't really speak very clearly. I was mumbling really badly. I just didn't feel great. But that's all down to the heat. I wasn't ill or anything, I'm just way too hot. So I'm going to try and learn from that. This week is much cooler, and I think that it's just an interesting effect that amount of heat has on me. I'm not a hot person really. I prefer a mild sort of climate. I don't like cold either. It's a bit like my character. I'm very much in the middle. Anyway, so I've done all the videos editing. So last night I edited all the videos for last week, so they'll all come out. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I now know how much I earned at the end of the week. And now you'll know because you've had the last video. So I earned £255, £255 for the week as an income after all expenses taken into account. And I think I'm alright with that. Let's assume I did that for 4 weeks every month. I'll be earning just over £1,000 take-home pay a month, which is enough for me to live off. I'd rather earn a little bit more if I can, just get a bit more back in the black. At the moment I'm quite close to zero in terms of my savings. I'm not completely at zero, but quite close to it. Too close for comfort, I would say. So I need a bit of time to rebuild up some of my monetary reserves over this next few months. And that's what I'm aiming to try and do, just get myself into a slightly better economic position by the end of the year, trying to be a bit more resilient when it comes to next year, sort of January to March time, maybe even April. Okay, I'll let you know how today goes. Thank you for listening. Cheers. I have now picked up my load from Grantham, and it's now 9:45, just before 9:45. And I want to talk about this load. I'm not going to criticise anybody in this. I don't think anybody's done anything particularly wrong. I just think it's one of those situations where I feel like I had to put an extra bit of effort in, and it won't be recognised in the price of the job. But it's not enough for me to want to call the shipper at all. I'm not going to call the shipper about it. It's basically fine, but I just want to give you my perspective on this. It's one of those situations, I think, where you're a different character, you might get a lot more cross about this. It is going to be what it's going to be, as long as it fits on, I don't mind. So let me give you the full context. This was a job that I bid on Friday. It was one pallet going from Grantham to Bicester. I priced it at 90p, but £90, basically £1 a mile, and I thought that's fine. It said short wheelbase van job, so I thought my van will cope with that easily. And I had in my mind it's one pallet and the job is for a short wheelbase van. So because I had that in my mind, I didn't bother checking the details, which is on me. So I'm not saying I should have, it's anyone else's fault. But when I then looked at the details of the job this morning, and it was one pallet, but it had the dimensions of 1.4 times 2.25. And I realised as soon as the item came out, and I then looked at this message, my wheel arches are 1.35 between the gap between them. But above the wheel arches, I've got plenty of space. So it's not that I can't put this item on, it's just that it needs a bit of fiddling to get it on. And in my case, quite a lot of fiddling, which I'm going to explain. The item itself was lengthwise fine. It could fit on, it fit on my van, no problem at all. So 2.25 is actually got a metre spare, or a bit over a metre spare. Height-wise, the pallet itself with the load, so the load and the pallet it was on came to 1.26 centimetres, which in itself is absolutely fine for my van. So it looked quite big, but I felt that it could get on my van, and I had two options. The first option was, which I think in hindsight would have been the wrong option, we could balance the item on my the wooden plywood that goes over my wheel arches. They're not the whole length of the pallet. They're about a metre, 1.2 metres maybe long. And I felt that might work, but in hindsight that would have been a really bad idea because it wouldn't have balanced very well. So we settled on the idea, which the forklift driver had, which of putting a couple of pallets underneath on the floor of my van, and then those two pallets would raise up the level at which I put the pallet on up to the level of my wheel arches, which is absolutely fine way of doing it. Now the slight problem I had with that was I've got a spare wheel attached to the behind my wheel arch. I've got my tramping bed on top of my wheel arch, so I had to untie all that, put that at the back of my van where the bulkhead was to give me the width. I also got quite a lot of blankets and straps hanging up on the side of my van. And so the guy put this item on, but unfortunately it was more difficult because once you'd raised that pallet above the level of my wheel arches, they must be around about 32 centimetres high, I reckon. So once you add the 32 centimetres to the 126, that's coming to 158 in terms of total height. And my doors are 167, so I only had 10 centimetres spare to get the pallet in the back door, which was fine, but it was a very long pallet and quite a short set of forks, so it was a bit at an angle when it came into my van, so we had to sort of jiggle it about a bit, push it, pull it, and eventually we got it on the van, completely in the van. I could close the back doors. It fits snugly, I would say, but it fits. And I just feel that doesn't feel like a small van, a short van job. I suppose technically speaking, a short van would be over 2.25 centimetres. Technically speaking, they would be within the height, which is 1.26 centimetres. But I just do not think I can think of any short wheelbase van that doesn't have wheel arches. And I can't think of any short wheelbase van that's going to have 1.4 centimetres between the gap of the wheel arches. So they're going to have to do the same thing that I do, which is to raise it above the wheel arch level. In which case, I think there's many small vans, there's many short wheelbase vans that have 1.58 of height in the door. So this is what I was thinking about all the way through. I was thinking, well, should I say something to the shipper? And the bottom line is this. The shipper didn't give me any incorrect information. It's completely correct. It was the correct... I mean, it's 3 centimetres wider, they say. So, to be fair, the actual width is 1.43 metres, and they said 1.4 because of the way it's packaged. But that's neither here nor there. It's got on my van. It took a bit of effort. I had to move my stuff around inside. It's on there, and the loading weight is fine. So I'm actually fine now. I've got it on board. It felt like a lot of effort and a lot of jiggling about to get a load on a long wheelbase van when actually it's only paying for a short wheelbase van. So anyway, I thought about it. I thought I'm not going to talk to the ship about it because they've done nothing wrong really. It's not really their fault. I personally, I think they should have put it down as a long wheelbase van job or a Luton job. I do think it was the wrong vehicle size, simply because of the width of the pallet. Not the length or the height per se, but I think it is the wrong vehicle type. But it's such a minor error, and I thought I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to make a fuss about that, because actually they did give me the dimensions. And if on Friday I'd seen that, I wouldn't have cancelled the job. I would have just said, oh, I'll deal with that on the day. It didn't have a height, but now I know that this can go on. I know what can go above. I know what can go above my wheel arches now, so it's sort of all right in the end. So yeah, I don't know how that comes across. It just seems like it's just an example of a situation where I feel like I put a lot of effort in when I gained the job. It was just a one pallet short wheelbase van job, which is a different entity completely. Right, I'm gonna get myself to Bicester. It's 2 hours away now, and I'll be pleased to get this load off. It's gonna be hard to get it off because it's really tight to the sides of my van, but it went on all right. So just got to put it straight off. Hopefully they've got maybe a bit longer forks would help taking it all off. Right, well, I'll let you know. I'm contemplating taking a photo. I think I might add a photo here of the back of my van showing what I mean. I think that would be useful in this case. Then you'll see what I mean by it fits snugly in my van. There's no indicator of where I've been or what the item is from the picture, so it maintains privacy. So I will show a picture of that on the screen. Right, cheers. Okay, the time now is 1:25. I dropped off my first load of the day at 12:10. I've been looking for work since then. I was in Bicester. I've come up towards Toaster, getting as far at the moment as Brackley, and I am bidding on stuff, but not yet got a job. I need to get myself not too far away from home, so I'm a bit constrained about what I can go for, but I'm going to keep trying. Right, it's now nearly 3 o'clock. I've been bidding and driving and stopping and bidding and driving and stopping all afternoon from Bicester. I've now just got to Wellingborough, and I'm only now an hour and a quarter away from home, so I'm pretty much just going to go home now. And I'm going to talk a bit about a rambling subject. I'll do it quickly, which I've been thinking about in the last few minutes because I'm so bored. I might as well share my boredom with you. So I'm going to, at the end of today, stick on my daily results, which will be very poor, as like a ticker tape on the screen. And then I thought about that, and I thought, I keep saying that phrase, and actually, does anyone actually know what I mean by that? And I think most of you would get it once you see what the text is like. But actually, ticker tape is the wrong phrase to use. It's just the phrase that came to mind when I first thought about that movement of text across the screen. And I was thinking about it as being scrolling text along the bottom from right to left, and that is where I got the word ticker tape from. But ticker tape actually is a thing that used to exist. It's actually paper that was used to print out stock market movements, and my awareness of ticker tape is mainly down to the phrase ticker tape parade, and that was seeing on TV in American cities, them having parades through the streets, and then all this snow-like paper falling from the high-rise buildings onto the street, almost like massive confetti. And I had two thoughts about that as a concept when this would have been quite young. The first concept was that must take ages to organise all that paper. But my predominant thought was that must be a real pain to clear up now, and was it really worth it? So that's my view of ticker tape. It's got nothing to do with courier work at all, nothing to do with my life really. But then I'm going to bring this on to the phrase, for me, the equivalent of ticker tape is the video printer. And a video printer is what is used to give sports results out on TV. So it's a digital output on TV screen. And when I was a kid, it used to have like a sound effect, a beeping sound effect, like it was actually coming out of a real machine. And for all I know, it was coming out of a machine that was making that noise just off the screen. But I suspect it's more of an effect than reality. And that's where you had the scrolling up the screen from bottom to top of each new sports, usually football in my case, football scores. Well, usually on Saturday afternoon, that'd be a very common weekly sight. So what I've done with my stats is more akin to a video printer than ticker tape. But I just used that phrase, literally kept using it. So I wanted to tell you that because I wanted to let you know just how bloody bored I am. If I'm going to think about that all afternoon, then I'm going to tell you about it and you can share in my experience. So I'm going to head home now. I'm going to give up because I'm quite tired, and I've gone quite low. I put a bid on a £35 for a small job, going about 20 miles and didn't get it. I mean, I'm not quite in the right place to get these jobs. And do I really want to do like 20 miles for £35? It'll be a good hour's job and it may go wrong. Well, yeah, this is my other point I was going to say. So it's all very well, isn't it, when you go for small, short jobs and then make the price low. But the problem with that is it's more and more likely, the shorter the job, that something could go wrong which will make it not worth your while. It might be you have to do a lot more handballing, or maybe there's a delay at the pickup, and what might be a 20-minute job might become a 40-minute job, and then suddenly it's not quite worth the £35 you put your money on. So I think I don't like the uncertainty there is with those very little jobs, sort of 20-30 miles, because people seem to price them really low, but there's more to the job than just the miles. You know, it's the time, isn't it, and the effort. Whereas when I'm doing a longer job, if it does go wrong by half an hour, it's kind of accounted for in the price. I don't worry about too much about it. But actually, a half an hour delay over sort of 3.5 hours is not really very important. And half an hour delay in a half an hour job is ridiculous. You're not going to get paid any more for it. Also, if you've got half an hour's free waiting, you can effectively wait for the whole time of a half an hour job and get no more money for it. So I don't like that uncertainty or that price level. But when it's like today, I ended up having to get down that low just to try and get something to do. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to bring this video to a close, and I'm going to do a video printer of my results for today, which will be ridiculously bad. It was hardly worth doing it today, to be honest. Tomorrow I may or may not work, don't know yet. I might just, at this rate I might just give it a miss. I think what I might do is, if a job comes up that's going to pay really well, I'll do it, but I'm not going to do little jobs just in case I can't get back home. So like a job from, say, I don't know, Boston to Preston or Wisbech to Warrington, say, I'll do that job because then in itself the job is pretty worth doing, even if I come back empty. But other than that, I'm not going to take the risk of doing like a £75 job, going 80 miles and then ending up stuck. Today it was a 90-mile job for 90 miles, and I'm not sure it was quite worth it, to be honest. It was worth, I don't know, it's worth the experience, I suppose. And at the end of the month, when I get paid at £90, I'll be pleased that I've got it. So looking ahead, I'll be pleased in the future. Right, so basically close now. Thank you for listening. I hope that you're being way more successful than I've been today. I'll probably see you on Wednesday or possibly even Friday. It could even be Friday that I come back. And thank you, and farewell, friends.